Hello and welcome back to another Craig and Dave Unscripted. So, I think we've all basically recovered from BETT, which is the big highlight of our year. So we thought we'd do an unscripted episode looking back at some of our highlights. But just before we get into that, we have another little shout out. This one's coming from a student called, just checking out, Anthony. And it's to Mr. Rogers. And he also informs me, Mr. Rogers, your first name is Steve. Steve Rogers. I don't know. Dave doesn't get that. No, any Marvel fan out there will totally get that. An actual genuine Mr. Steve Rogers from Waterfront UTC. And it was a lovely little email just saying how much you've inspired him and how much you do for the class. And he said you thought you'd really like it if we could give you a quick happy birthday shout out. So there you go, Captain America, Mr. Steve Rogers. Happy birthday to you from Anthony and the class at Waterfront UTC. Right. So I'm just going to share the screen. We're going to take a look back then at our experience, Dave, of BETT. Our first show, probably worth saying, isn't it? We've been many times before as visitors, but first time we've been as exhibitors, and it was tiring. Right, okay, let me just check it in then. First photo. So this one isn't even at BETT. This is the pre-BETT packing at my house, because of course what happened is the whole company took the train down. One of us had to drive. And I was like, oh, I'll drive. But of course that means you're the person that has to pack and take everything because everyone else is going by train. So yeah, there we are, our little mascots and our keyboards and our COVID bottles. But let's skip on from that. Right, okay, Dave. What people would have seen when they arrived, would it? It's what we saw when we arrived.
Yeah, this is the bits that people never see. This is what the exhibition hall looks like less than 24 hours before the show actually opens. It's remarkable, really, the transformation that happens. I remember looking at this floor and saying to you, they're never going to carpet this lot in time. I mean, look at how much carpet they've got to lay. And it was all sort of rolled up, as you can see those blue rolls there. And it's remarkable how it really just comes together.
This is only one small shot of part of the showroom. There's loads more we couldn't take a photo of, and then another entire hall over the other side. But yeah, you turn up on that Tuesday when it's not open to visitors, and it's a building site. It's like, this is going to turn into a fully polished, finished show floor by tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. And it did. In fact, it looked even more different because we turned up, didn't we, about lunchtime, sort of mid-afternoon, 2-3, and this is the state of what it looked like. And then we went away, didn't we, and had some food, came back in the evening, and already it was transformational. So, yeah, we hunted down our stand. Here you go. This is the first shot of our stand. Everything covered in cellophane. Things weren't finished. Stuff was upside down. We had the wrong tables. A chair was missing. There's Sam, a member of our company, looking unimpressed at that point. That's his default look. I think he was.
Well, I think it's fair to say I was completely paranoid for months leading up to this exhibition, and sort of on the Tuesday before the show opened as well, that are we actually going to be able to connect our kit? I was concerned that
you were really
didn't have any monitors. Then we wouldn't have the right cables to connect the monitors to the laptops. Because, like you, Craig, we work in schools and we know what it's like whenever you want to try and do a demonstration. And especially if you go to another school to do a demonstration, you think you're prepared, you've got your laptop and your slides and everything that you want. And it's always that one cable that you haven't got. And in fact, that happened to me when I went to Pates fairly recently. So my laptop's got a HDMI port on it. And of course, their projector's a VGA. And I didn't have a HDMI to VGA converter cable because I just didn't. And it's just those little things all the time that are just gotchas. So I think I irritated the whole team. Actually, with my paranoia about, can you make absolutely sure we've got all the cables we need, please?
You were very paranoid. Yeah, I was like, we've got every cable we're ever going to need, every converter, every dongle, every female to male, male to female, male to... we had the lot, but it all worked out all right. So Yeah, this is how your stand looks like when you turn up. We went for a system called Show Ready, which means they pre-build your stand. Otherwise, you physically have to turn up before BETT and build your stand. But obviously, it's all covered in cellophane. I love this. There's little Costa cups and a half-eaten takeaway from obviously the crew that had put the stand together. It was
And
all
of course, you never get what you ordered either. I mean, so for example, the tables aren't what we wanted. The stools, you'll notice we've only got 3 stools there. You can just see one peeking behind the Craig and Dave, a little pedestal there. So we didn't have a 4th stool that we'd ordered. We didn't have remote controls for the monitors, so the brightness and the contrast was all out of whack, and it wasn't going to suit our demonstrations at all. So you turn up and it's kind of show ready, but there's no way that it is show ready.
Yeah. Oh, we were also missing a piece of fabric down here where I'm pointing the mouse. There was a huge gap here. The door wouldn't lock or shut properly. It was just, but not to fear, because by the evening after dinner, look at that. I mean, so this must be now what we had dinner about 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock. We came back because the showroom was open till 10 p.m, wasn't it, on the night before? So we came back probably about 9 p.m. And look, the carpet's laid, all the cellophane's off, still don't have our chair. But all of a sudden it's like, you know what? Wow, we've got a stand. We're doing BETT. And yeah, earlier in the day, it was, as I said, it was an absolute, felt like a disaster zone. So fast forward till tomorrow morning then. Morning 1, day 1, show opened. Hey, there we are, Craig and Dave, stands fully, and it's amazing how it just comes to life a bit as well. You turn those monitors on. We've got Smart with Eyes on the one there behind me and Dave, and we've got our books out and a little, and just dressing the stand. And we all turned up, didn't we, and dressed the stand. Still haven't got the 4th stall, by the way, but let's not worry about that. And it suddenly felt like we'd arrived, which is weird because we've been planning BETT for ages and ages. Then of course it got delayed with the Omicron variant postponing the show in January, so it was another 3 months. And even on the way down at the hotel before, I don't know, it was something the following morning for me anyway, Dave. We dressed the stand, we heard the announcement, the show floor was open, and I felt like finally we'd arrived. BETT was here. It was all worth it. It looked good. Anything that was niggling, no one else was going to spot. It looked good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can just notice on the left-hand side there that the monitor, it isn't where we planned it. That monitor was supposed to be higher so that it was central between the white area and the green area. Because we turned up and they hadn't put the monitor in the correct place. But it didn't matter. I mean, as it happened, when you were sat on the stools and you were looking at the monitor, it was just the right height. So these little things, they happen that you don't plan for. And like you say, no one else notices. There were a couple of other little things like, because it's actually fabric. I know it looks solid, but where you can see computer science, GCSE and A-level, contemporary resources and smart revise, all that is fabric. And of course, it's sort of folded in order to sort of be transported to the show. And so there are some little creases and some little dirty marks here and there where, so, they've put them up and they've had to unfold it. And it's little things like that you think, oh no, look, there's a crease there. That's no good. But the truth is no one notices except you. And we did have a little sneaky look around other people's stands when no one else was there, didn't we, Craig? Just to see what faults they had. Because of course we'd become very tuned in to looking for faults in our stand at this point. And as you go around, you actually realize that nobody's stand is perfect. There are little issues all over the place. And it's just something you have to accept when there's a massive show, that there will be imperfections, but actually nobody is going to notice. And if I wasn't talking about those things now, you probably wouldn't notice them at all from the photographs. No. But we also live and learn. And I think we learned that, white is all very well, but you don't notice the imperfections on the solid colors. So we'll probably give that some more thought moving forward.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Right. So there's Craig and Dave. But as you've probably all learned by now, there are more people behind Craig and Dave than just Craig and Dave. And three arguably of the most important ones were with us for the whole length of the show. So on the far left of the photo, there is Andy under the contemporary resources. So if you've ever made a purchase and or dealt with anything to that, he does all our purchases, sales, customer experience. Literally could not run the champion about that chap. Then we've got Mark, who actually appeared on an Unscripted with us before. So he's our lead developer. He's the code monkey behind Smart Revise. Hope he doesn't mind me calling him that. A couple of weird fellows in the middle there, Craig and Dave. And then on the far right-hand side there is Sam, who's actually been with us from the very first day we came up with the company in Paddington Station. Kind of does everything else and all of our website and other things in between, lots of little hats. So yes, and we all came down for the whole show. So and I think it was fair to say I'm glad we were all there. It was I didn't know what to expect in terms of how busy we would be, but there were times when we were all just sitting around having a chat. There were other times where I think every person was talking to a different customer or a different person. I think it was wise, because I know originally you were like, oh, we don't need to bring Andy down. I was like, well, trust me, I've been before with another company, and you can never have too many people. And there were definitely moments like that.
Yeah, there definitely were. I think I was concerned that the stand, all the stands, unless you're paying an absolute fortune, are quite small in their foot space, in their footprint. Obviously, to fit quite a lot of stands in. I think I was a bit concerned that with the the space that we had, that we wouldn't have enough room for everybody. But actually, it's surprisingly spacious, and the fact that it's open on two sides there meant that actually you had a little bit more space than you kind of felt that you had more space than you'd actually ordered, to be honest, because of the corridor space and everything. It just sort of opened everything out. So I was concerned that we might have too many bodies and we'd be falling over each other, but actually no, it worked really well. And it was nice to have everybody there. I mean, everybody has suffered with the pandemic in terms of not being at work and mixing with colleagues and all the rest of it. And we're the kind of company where we can do most of the things from home, and that's what we do most of the time. So we very rarely actually all get together. And so this was a lovely opportunity actually for us just to spend some time with each other and feel like we were actually part of an entity and a group sort of ambition to achieve something.
And let me just address the elephant in the room here. You do not need to be a middle-aged white bald man to work for Craig and Dave. Someone did comment on Twitter, it felt like we had a clone machine. Yes, we are all follically challenged. We all have to have a particular look about us. It's just, yes, that has been joked on. You're not the first if you're thinking it. It's a shame, actually. One of the people who's been with us for a long time, Corinne, she couldn't make it. She had to cancel at the last minute. Actually had a train ticket. One of our long-term ambassadors and supporters. And who knows, with changes imminent in Smart Revise, maybe we might be able to bring one or two other people with us next year who have been working hard behind the scenes, helping us move Smart Revise in a new direction. But yes, can't avoid that photo without mentioning the fact that we all look pretty much the same.
But right. Of course, we do actually have a cloning machine.
Oh yeah, of course we do. Yes, naturally. Here you go. This brings us onto a nice little banner here. Memorable moments. This is perfect. I think some of my most memorable moments were meeting existing users of Craig and Dave resources and Smart Revise, whether they be students, whether they be trainee teachers, whether they be teachers, head of departments, professors from university and everything in between. I mean, it was lovely. Obviously, we're there to capture leads and make new leads and everything else. But I think one of the nicest things for me, I kind of knew we were going to get a bit of it, but not to the extent that we did, was just the overwhelming love and support and kind words from existing users of Craig and Dave. And this particular young lady was so excited to see us and so grateful, and it was just lovely, really, really lovely. Well, how did you feel about all that, Dave? Because I know that touched you as well.
Yeah, no, I completely concur with you, Craig. For me, it's nice showing the product off to people that haven't seen it before, and kind of going through the walkthrough and looking at the expression on their faces as you show them the next feature. And you can see the kind of light bulb coming on as you're talking about the product, and that's really nice. But the real highlight is just meeting students and teachers that, as you say, take the time to just come along and just say, hello, and meet us and say that they use our resources and talk to us about how they use resources. And it was really lovely, actually, the number of students that actually turned up. Some of them even with little autograph books for a little message for Craig and I to write in their book. And it was lovely. And we took a few photographs of us with them, which we're not going to share to protect their identity. But for me, that was the special moment, actually, knowing that we are making a difference to other people that actually until that date we'd never met. And it's one of those things, we keep talking about it because we completely underestimated the whole kind of Craig and Dave effect, if you like, and the fact that we're real people, and that sort of connects and resonates with other real people. And it's really, really special to know that you can make a difference. So I think I speak for us both. Well, I know I do when I say we want to use this episode as well to extend our personal thanks for making us feel so special and making it feel so worthwhile. I mean, is it worthwhile in terms of the financial expenditure that you have to attend BETT for a company like ours, and particularly in a niche subject? No, probably not. But if you said to me, is it worth spending that money just to have the opportunity to meet with people and talk to people and know the difference that you're making to students and teachers up and down the country? Absolutely. Absolutely. I thought it was worth every penny for that. So highlight for me, absolutely, meeting the students and teachers that already use our stuff and just popped by to say hello. It was great.
Well, this leads nicely on to one of the other things we want to talk about. Obviously, speaking to lots of existing customers as well, is listening to your feedback. And we did an awful lot of that, both from new customers being introduced for the first time, and then were asking us questions. And sometimes like, oh, well, we don't quite do that yet. It'd be nice if we did this. But also speaking to existing customers and saying, well, I use this and I love it. What if it could do X, Y, or Z? And I think, again, both from new and existing customers, getting your feedback, in person, being able to have that dialogue there and then, as opposed to an email that, we might get round to in a day or two when we spot it. And then, it's that was excellent. I mean, that was really nice. And off the back of that, we have actually, this might be a good time to discuss some of this, Dave, before I move on to the BETT Award slideshow part. But yes, a lot of feedback gained. And out of that, we have, we've already embarked on some work here at Craig and Dave as a direct result of having spoken to our customers.
Yeah, let's talk about a few things that we're actually doing as a result of that feedback. And then let's talk about some of the other things that people asked for that we're committed to, but there are other things that have to come first. So let's take them in that order. So I think one of the disappointments, I suppose, from the show was when we couldn't actually offer something to people. And we knew that there would be an international audience there. We knew that the BETT show in London is, the big educational technology event, and people fly in from all over Europe and in fact all over the world just for that exhibition. And so I think one of the disappointments was when you got a representative from another school elsewhere in the world that wanted to use our resources, but we just didn't have what they were looking for. So IGCSE, that's the elephant in the room, isn't it? IGCSE, people keep asking about IGCSE and the Cambridge International qualifications, which are the A-level equivalents as well. And, we've been saying for a long time now that capacity is a real issue when it's just Craig and I making resources all the time, and then trying to do all the business administration of running a company as well. And of course, we still teach, which people forget. Admittedly, not full time, but we do still teach, and we still, look after our own students and prepare lessons and mark work and things like that, of course, that regular teachers do. It's just having the time and capacity to support these subjects. And we're also thinking, because we get asked about other subjects as well, about branching out into those for the English exam board. So, IGCSE, Craig, we keep getting asked about it. What are you going to do?
What am I going to do? Well, what am I doing right now? What would I be doing right this minute if I wasn't recording Unscripted? I'd be going back to my IGCSE mapping document. So I think I must have committed to at least 2 or 3 people that as a minimum, we will do a detailed mapping document against our existing videos and against our existing resources. And again, as we do here, Craig and Dave, spec point per spec point, according to the IGCSE, and let you know where the most appropriate content is from our offering. Because we did have quite a few people like, well, I already buy your stuff, I just want a mapping document. And of course, it's early days, but what that mapping document is already highlighting is what we suspected, which is that 90 to 95% of the content in the IGCSE specification is indeed covered by the existing exam boards and courses that we offer. That's no promise here on Unscripted already, but that makes it more likely that we may actually end up mapping at least to one of the IGCSEs, possibly the Cambridge being the most popularly recognised one internationally. But as a minimum, yes, we hear you. IGCSE, we've started a detailed mapping document that will be free. I think I can say that. I've not really ran that by anyone, but I don't see any reason not to give the mapping document out for free. If you're an existing user, it's just an extra. And then once we've done that exercise properly, we'll see where we go from there. So yeah, hear you on it. Smart Revise, lots of little bits of feedback from Smart Revise, of which maybe I'll bring up this banner. You can talk about some of those, Dave, because some of those we've already done, actually, haven't we? The task link, I think it's already in.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a good example of where we were able to be really agile. So lots of people were asking whether, when you set a task in Smart Revise, could you have a little hyperlink that you could then copy and paste into other products, so that when a child clicks on the link, it prompts them to log on if they're not already logged into Smart Revise. But having done that, it then takes them immediately to the task. And it wasn't something we could do instantly, because every single child got their own unique hyperlink, and we knew that wasn't going to work because you want a generic link that you can put for the whole class. But it then takes the student to their individual version of that task. So we had to do a little bit of jiggery pokery behind the scenes to do that, but it wasn't a big deal. So that's already gone live. So
Yeah.
if you want to have a hyperlink that you can copy and paste into Google Classroom, OneNote, Class Charts, whatever system you're using, then you can get that now in Smart Revise when you click a task. And when you create a new task, and if you've already created a task, you can go to the edit option, it's the information option. You can go to the information option, and then you can see the hyperlink to the task there, and you can copy and paste it out. So this is something that we wouldn't really have considered doing without your feedback, because it's something that Craig and I don't really need in our own teaching experience. I mean, our school does use Class Charts, for example, but we don't really tend to think about those little shortcuts that might be helpful to the students in that way, because our students haven't asked for it. But your students have, and that's what you want to do, and so that's what we've done. So that was great. There are some other bits and pieces, particularly the thing that stands out that people asked a lot for is self-marking of tasks. So in other words, when you set students a task in Smart Revise and they answer the questions, of course it comes back to you as a teacher then to mark their work. And what teachers want is the ability for the child themselves to self-assess, so that the marks populate into your mark book, but you haven't had to actually do the marking. The student can do that for themselves. So we heard that loud and clear. And then linked to that is peer marking. So this idea that you put all the answers into a pile, and then students can kind of pick an answer off the pile to mark, and return it back to the sort of completed pile. And eventually, when you've got through all the questions for all the students, then the marking is done. So peer marking was another thing that was sort of frequently asked for. And as it happens, Craig, although we obviously we haven't implemented that feature yet, because there's quite a lot to do to make that happen, we had a kind of live design meeting actually on the stand, didn't we? So on the Thursday evening, we did what's called BETT after hours, where you continue to man the stand beyond 5 o'clock. It's actually 5 till 8 o'clock, so it's a very, very long day, 10 till 8. But it was really quiet for us in the evening. So we just sort of sat around and we actually sketched out and designed that entire feature of how peer marking could actually work. So we've got all the design done and the analysis, and now it's just a question of actually coding it. So we're committed to doing that. So thank you for your feedback. It certainly bumped it up the priority list for us.
There you go. So yeah, as we said, great to speak to people, wonderful memories, and to say, just getting your feedback. Some of those things have already been implemented. They've informed other discussions here. And we like to believe, we are a small company. We can be responsive. Although we can't promise to make every change that every person wants every time, because that's not how a product works. But we do generally listen to what you guys say. Don't sit there and find a workaround. If you're using the system and thinking, God, it's brilliant, but it would be the cherry on the cake if it did this, then drop us a line and let us know. Right. So that's the Wednesday. The Wednesday evening, we then went off to the BETT Awards. Now, I'd been to the BETT Awards before as a guest of another company, but it was the first time I'd been with my own company and the first time the rest of the team had been. So remind us first, Dave, a long process. We won't go through it now, but basically there were 22 awards we could apply for, and it was a lengthy application process. So look, let me just put it on the video so everyone can see it. We owe Dave a huge thank you. The application, we do, Dave. Like, we don't like to praise you very much because you get a big head, but it was a long application process, followed by a follow-up sort of a Zoom pitch for 3 minutes to a blank camera where you didn't see them and you got cut off. And anyway, and both categories we entered for, we were shortlisted for. So, what were the two categories that we got shortlisted for as finalists?
Yeah, you can tell this is unscripted because I'm not ready for this. I can't remember the official titles, but they're something alike. There's something like secondary best free content or app, and then there was secondary sort of best product, something like that.
Not bad. Sorry, I shouldn't have put you on the spot like that, should I? Yeah, there's best free resource or educational app, and indeed that was our YouTube channel. And then there was best paid secondary revision or learning product, which was Smart Revise. So yeah, and we got shortlisted for both of those. So look, we've upped our outfits. We're out of our casual polo necks and we're all dressed up like penguins. It's a champagne reception arrival and then a 3-course bonkers meal. There you go. There's a shot of the show, and it really was. I mean, it was a glitzy. This is I don't know how you say it. This is the pinnacle of the EdTech Awards, really, and this is the one you want to win. I guess if you watch all those award ceremonies on telly, the BAFTAs and the Brit Awards, people think of the Oscars as being the one. Well, this is like our version of the Oscars. I think it's fair to say it's the pinnacle of the EdTech Awards.
Well, it was presented, wasn't it, by Sindhu V, famous comedian. And it had the voice of the Bulls from the National Lottery and Strictly Come Dancing actually doing the announcing.
Yeah.
And the Education Secretary had pre-recorded messages as well. So yeah, it was quite a big event.
It was. Yeah, I mean, it's huge as well. You don't really get a sense of the size of the venue. This is me taking a photo towards the back of the hall, and then the previous one was the front with the kind of stage, but huge, absolutely huge. There's another little
cynic in me, because of course you have to put this application together and all the rest of it. The cynic in me was like, oh well, they just shortlist everybody, don't they? And sort of what we discovered on the evening, which we didn't know, is there were actually hundreds of entries, and the fact that we then got shortlisted in to down to the last 6 or 8 companies in both of the categories we applied for was a real massive achievement, which I didn't really realize until they announced and said how much of an achievement it was for all the finalists to be there. So felt quite humbled.
Yeah, it was humbling. And oh, there's our Craig and Dave mascot. So if you've been with us for ages, you'll know he goes everywhere with us. He actually got himself a little touch this year because it was decided that he couldn't attend the award ceremony in the usual Craig and Dave t-shirt that he has. So yeah, our mascot came with us to the award ceremony, and well, we're talking about the 2 categories. So we didn't win, but the competition was rife. However, in one of the categories, which was secondary free digital content, we got a highly commended. So, and I think there were 22 awards throughout the course of that evening, and they only went to the effort on 4 occasions and 4 awards to say, well, we also would like to highly commend someone. Oh, I'm pretty damn proud of that, Dave. And of course, we would have liked to win one of the awards, and we'll carry on applying. But if you look at who we're up against in that category, I believe it was the maths people who won our category, Polypad. I think that's who won. I'm almost positive it was, actually. So if you look at the other people we're up against, BBC Education, BBC Bite Size. Wow. And wow. And they went to the effort to highly commend us in that category.
National Shakespeare Archive, Craig. I think you just skipped over there.
Well, I'm still blown away with the same category as the BBC Bite Size, paid for by the country's license payers. So I was very touched by that. There we are. The next day, we didn't get a plastic piece. So we didn't get a piece of Perspex, which is what the award was, but we did get a nice certificate, which is in a frame in our office now. And I think we should be very proud of that. I mean, 6 years ago, you know, we didn't have the company at all. Here we are now with 5 full-time people or 4 full-time people working for us. We're at BETT. We're being highly commended by a broad panel of highly respected judges. That was quite nice as well. When you saw who the judging panel was, it was a wide range of people, and they all had the credentials. And you know what? I'm happy. We've been highly commended for our YouTube channel. A couple of blokes recording 800 videos on YouTube. We barely knew what we were doing when we were started. So it was really, really nice. So yeah, that was the BETT Awards 2022 YouTube channel, highly commended. I think that probably, oh, I thought that was the last photo, but it's not. I had to sneak this one in. Well,
yes, we weren't the only celebrities at BETT.
Yeah, you either know who this chap is in the middle, and he's another middle-aged white man with a bald head.
Yeah, another white man with a bald head. Yeah. I say that tongue-in-cheek because the number of people that came up to us and said, "Oh, it's celebrities, Craig and Dave. Oh, you're celebrities," and we're like, "No, we're playing all this down. We never intended to be celebrities." And then, of course, we knew there were real celebrities of computer science there, so. We had to go and seek out Alan O'Donoghue, who we like to think that we're sort of good friends with on a professional capacity. We live quite far away from each other, so unfortunately we can't do as much socializing as we'd like there. But we're big fans of Alan O'Donoghue, and now we really are. If we're celebrities, we're now amongst royalty.
Yeah, that's fair. And this photo got quite a bit of stir on Twitter. I mean, we actually posted this one, but Alan made us take a series of funny, comical snaps, if you remember, like, and I was like, no, we won't be putting those on Twitter. Alan put all of them. Cheers, Alan. Thanks for that. But those photos actually got quite a bit of capture. There were people like, these are legends of computer science. Other people like, the hashtag Avengers Assemble. But yes. It was really nice spending some time and catching up with Alan. I think we'd known of him for years, we'd heard of him, he knew of us, we'd met him briefly at a CAS conference a couple of times, but it was nice to actually sit down and have a chat for 15-20 minutes and sort of catch up with everything he continues to do for computer science. Right, I think that is the end of the little slideshow, and we're up to about 35 minutes, but any other sort of comments, things you wanted to say then? A look back on BETT BETT, our first experience at BETT as a company?
Yeah, I think it's a very different experience exhibiting instead of visiting. But I really enjoyed it. It was exhausting, and it made us quite ill actually as a result of that, because we were on our feet obviously all day. We were talking all day. We were having to be polite all day, and socializing all day, and that was quite tiring actually. And like I say, we kind of we all came away from it feeling a bit grey. And you caught COVID, Craig, as a result of it as
60% of the
well.
company
And
caught COVID.
yeah, and
60% of us
so
did.
it's really, really tiring. But I loved it, and I would
Mm.
absolutely do it again. And it was fantastic to meet people, and for me, that was the real highlight. So, yeah, thank you very much again to everybody that visited us this year. We absolutely loved meeting you, and thank you so much for all the feedback and positivity that you gave to us. It was fantastic.
Brilliant. Well, I don't have anything more to add on top of that. So thank you very much, everyone. It's been fun recapping BETT, and we'll catch you again next week for another Craig and Dave Unscripted. Bye for now.